Welcome to the next video series, this year's Captain's Table. I'm delighted and genuinely delighted today to be joined by our three previous finalists. You had the opportunity to meet Sammy recently, and now I thought it'd be a great opportunity to get Nidhi Gupta, Nick Clark and Krasi Portev together just to share their experiences of both the Captain's Table and the finals as we now head towards this year's final in Hong Kong. So Nidhi, Nick, Krasi, welcome and thank you very much for your time. Maybe if I could just ask you each to tell me a little bit about, or the audience a little bit about your business as a starting point, that would be great. And Nidhi, it makes sense to start with you as our very first finalist and winner back in 2019.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Hi, everyone. My name is Nidhi, and I'm the founder and CEO of PORTCAST. We're headquartered in Singapore, and we're an ocean freight visibility company. We look at how containers and ships move around the world, and if any exceptions are likely to happen on these while in transit. The exceptions could be any operational changes, or it could be sudden, unforeseen external changes like climate events or geopolitical events. And the way we do it is through data and machine learning that we've designed internally. So we work with some of the largest names in terms of manufacturers and forwarders around the world.
Fantastic. Nidhi, thank you very much. Nick, maybe in chronological order, it clearly makes sense to come to you because you also had the challenge of winning Captain's Table in the height of COVID.
Thanks, Chris, and really good to see you. Thanks for setting this up, and lovely to catch up with Nidhi and Krasi again as well. And to be honest, I think doing the Captain's Table during COVID was a bit of a boon because I didn't have to get up on the stage. It was a bit easier. I didn't have to go to Hong Kong. I was able to do it all remotely. So I think if anything, I was a little bit lucky. So it wasn't too bad. But yeah, my name's Nick. I'm one of the founders at GREYWING, and GREYWING's a digital platform that optimizes anything that gets on or off a vessel, excluding cargo. So I'd say right now we're focused on crew changes, but we've got customers talking to us about other items. And broadly speaking, I'd say, what does GREYWING do? Well, we do crew matrix planning, so we can plan out your crew for the next 3 years in terms of when they're getting on and off the vessel to keep you in compliance with over 31 different charterers, as well as your own internal requirements. And that's dynamic. So if someone misses a crew change, it will reshuffle the roster, if you like, and then we automate crew change planning. So we can take you from a crew change event to a completed crew change within a couple of minutes. So before I feel a full-scale sales pitch coming on, I'll let Krasi come in.
Brilliant, thank you, Nick. And Krasi, winner in 2021. Tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Sure, Chris. It's a pleasure being here. It's nice to see Nick and Nidhi. Good morning, everyone. Depending on the time of the day, right? 13 Mari won the competition in 2021, I believe. It was still COVID, it was still virtual, it was still easier than being on the stage. The company was founded around a hardware product, a product that is able to reduce the drag that the vessel experiences, lower the energy requirements for a voyage. With this, reduce the fuel consumption and reduce the CO2 emissions. I guess that's all I have to say about 13 Mari at this point.
Thank you. And knowing you well, all of you, I appreciate if I gave you half an hour to tell me your sales pitch, it would be half an hour well spent. So I'm going to cut us away from that, if I may. Thanks very much for your introductions and really great to see you, as I say. Maybe if I can just start by the obvious question, looking back, what attracted you to enter for the first time into the Captain's Table? And maybe just by way of a starting point, Nick, maybe I'll throw it to you to start with.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So I think we were, kind of going through COVID in 2020, and I think the Captain's Table came up. And I think for us, we were a little unsure about whether to, kind of go in the first instance. But I think after speaking to Su Yin and Tabitha, and I think also Ronnie, who was kind of on this side of the world coordinating things in APAC, we kind of got a sense that actually what we like about this event is it's focused on maritime industry. So we're speaking to other maritime professionals. I think one of the big challenges with startup events is that you can often end up speaking to people where it's hard to speak the same language about the industry that you're working in. And so, when I sat down and spoke to, the guys that are involved with the captain's table, I got a real sense that, okay, we're going to be talking to, our ideal customers and potentially our ideal investors here as well. So I felt pretty comfortable about it. And it was probably, I'm getting ahead of myself, but reflecting back on it and the process that we went through, in terms of, these third-party programs that we invested our time in, I think, the captain's table was definitely the highest ROI on time invested that we got back, in terms of, network, and also the connections, not only from potentially new customers, but from the participants themselves. So it was a great outcome for us. And I mean, we're still in touch with you guys now, right? So it must have had a great impact.
Very good. Thanks, Nick. I'm going to come nearly to you last, because you clearly were the first one off the ranks in terms of our guests today. But maybe, Cressy, your reflections on sort of the journey to the captain's table.
Yeah, definitely, Chris. So there is always uncertainty, right? And it's not clear. It's not clear what the outcome is of a certain event. So when we applied for the captain's table, there was this uncertainty. But now, a couple of years later, everything that the company did and the talent that it was able to attract, the funding that it was able to attract, it all traces back to the captain's table, really, because captain's table is a competition that is particularly in the maritime space. And 13 Mar is a maritime company. However, I'm an outsider to the maritime industry. So the captain's table was an excellent way of putting things together and be able to grow the company following the event.
That's great to hear, Cressy. Thank you. Nidhi, I'm going to change the question a little bit, because I have fond memories of our first finals in Hong Kong. It'll be great to be back again this year. Tell me, just share with me, if you will, your experiences of that finals and the 2 or 3 days in Hong Kong.
Yeah, Chris, I have really fond memories, and I know why you asked the question, because first of all, it was the first captain's table, so there was a kind of limited in terms of knowing what to expect. I think it was really the people who were organizing which kind of attracted us to it. And the second thing was the access to the Hong Kong market in terms of the stakeholders reaching out to them. The time of the captain's table, I had just had my son. He was a few months old at that point in time. So, it was also a question for me whether I can actually make it without him travel, for the first time after he was born. But it was, the organization was really well done and very comfortable in terms of how I could make it. And I think what I really liked about it were the pre-sessions to the event that followed. All of the discussions that we had with the other founders, the guidance sessions, how do we pitch, how do we understand the Hong Kong market, various stakeholders who were brought in. I think that was really interesting. At the event, there was a glitch technically, and while I was presenting, the slides were not really working, and I was kind of a little bit taken aback, thinking actually I did not realize that it was not working, and I just breezed through the presentation, just looking at the audience, and then later on I realized that the slides hadn't really worked. So and then I think Captain's Table is also unique because the time given to the Q&A is significant. I remember it was 15 minutes for Q&A, yeah. And 15 minutes on stage is a pretty long time. So there are lots of questions, really deep questions about the business in front of an audience of 100 people that you're answering. So all of that was happening, and at the end of it I realized, oh, the slides didn't really work. But eventually we kind of made it and we won. So I guess it didn't really matter. But that was pretty interesting.
And I didn't put you on the spot deliberately to pull out that point, but it's such a fantastic example of knowing your product, and you had no idea that there's nothing behind you, and it didn't detract from you. And I know, you and I had conversations afterwards about, oh my goodness, but actually it didn't matter. It was a great lesson in that. So well done. And
But now I'm thinking, that is startups, because there are so many things that happen all the time which you don't expect, and constantly fires that you're fighting, and that is every day. Every day there is something new to think about, something new to tackle, and you just need to be resilient about it. So I think such things kind of help you realize that it's normal to deal with such constant unprecedented changes.
And at some point, I think, Nidhi, it's only fair that we put Nick and Krasi under the same pressure and we get them on stage.
Yeah, make things fair.
Well, I feel like Krasi did get on stage, didn't he? I'm the only one that's not had to go through the.
No, you're we owe it to you at some point, Nick. Maybe we'll bring you back for the 10th anniversary, and we'll put you up on stage then.
Yeah, I'm good to go. Hopefully, by year 10 of this, I've got things right. So with a bit of luck, if we wait that long, I should do it.
Look, guys, I'm conscious of time, both of yours and sort of people viewing. Maybe just to bring this to a close, maybe 2 or 3 things that really stand out in your mind that you're on different parts. You're all on the same journey. You're at different parts on that same journey. What really stands out that you think to yourself, goodness me, if I knew then what I know now, oh, the difference it would have made. Just maybe a couple of things to share with those that are looking at starting up in the maritime sector. Krasi, maybe come to you.
Not an easy question, Chris. We always knew that the product is important. We always knew that it was important to prove the efficiency. The difficult thing, I believe, throughout our journey was being able to find people that think like us and believing in the product and so on. And again, the winning the captain's table was a thing that really accelerated this process and assisted us in this. Then speaking about running a company and what could be done differently and more efficiently, well, many things, but it's an interesting journey, and one conversation leads to another. And it's not always clear, again, what the outcome of those conversations is, but clearly worked out. Accelerating the process is an important thing, and again, the acceleration happened when we got conversations with the maritime industry, with vessel owners, with vessel operators, and we are presently having conversations with vessel builders. I wish we had those connections and those conversations earlier, but it's a process.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I don't disagree with much of what you say. Thank you. Nidhi, Nick, who wants to pick it up? I'll give you guys the shout of who takes that.
I'm happy to jump in, but I'm glad that Krasi had to go first because it's a really hard question. And I suppose, when I reflect on one thing that we were lucky to do, was we were based in a maritime centre. So sitting in Singapore, we're surrounded by, potentially, hundreds of potential customers, and we're, very close to Hong Kong, the Philippines, Japan, to really expand that customer base. It's up to 4 hours away. So I think that's probably the highest leverage thing you can do if you're coming into the industry, is position yourself geographically somewhere where there's really high density of customers. So you're probably looking at somewhere like Hamburg, Athens, or potentially Singapore. Maybe other people have a different view on that, but I'd say, even if you were to base yourself in the UK or in the US, there's still some level of maritime companies there, but there's not enough to get around and to get that level of exposure from many different potential customers to really get going. So I think if you can place yourself in a geographic location where you've got a high density of maritime potential customers, within a short commute, then that's a massive help. And I don't know if I've got a solution for the second one, but the sales cycles in maritime, I think the fastest I've seen it go was maybe 6 weeks. And, that's an outlier. And I'd say anything from 4 months, we've had sales cycles go up to 2 years, is probably more of a indicative outline of how long it's going to take you to get a product to market, have those initial conversations, get people buying. And it may even be that people say no a few times, and then eventually you come back around and say, okay, well, this is where what we're doing now. And we've had cases where our product's changed, so people have been happy to bring us on. We've also had cases where the customer's business has changed, so they've opened up this requirement to work with us. But having an idea around that long sales cycle and playing for the long term, I think, is really important, because it affects all kind of dynamics around hiring, around funding, and also around managing your own expectations. I had something recently where, we've got this potentially large customer, they've got a contract, we're waiting for them to sign it. It's with their legal team and it's taken quite a long time, So I was having this conversation with one of our investors and I was like, what do you think I can do to move this along? And his response was, look, leave them to it and just go out and find, the next 10, 20 customers, just go out and do that work, because you're limited in what you can do to speed up that sales cycle. So coming into this industry, I think that's something that you've got to plan your business around. It's not going to be like B2C or B2B in, potentially other sectors. It's slow, but I suppose the upside of that is they're slow to come. They're also slow to leave, so, our kind of customer retention is like extremely high, I think, particularly in comparison to other startups. And most of that is down to, they take so long to onboard that by the time they do, they're unlikely to leave.
Which is the positive side, right? It's just that patience bit
when you get to the other end.
Yeah. Brilliant, thanks, Nick. And Nidhi, just to bring us home with the same sort of reflection on the last few years.
I think the list is endless of what you could have done better, or what your learnings are. But kind of just taking off from what Nick said, I think for me, one of the biggest thing has been being agile about the we call this product market fit. So being agile about it, because the product and the market fit is constantly evolving. So at a very early stage, there may be customer segments which may appear to bite, or appear to find value in the product, but they are either too slow or they don't have an urgent need. So being agile about it and finding the segment which actually has an urgent need for the product. And then the product needs to keep evolving as well to find its home in that segment. Being agile about the prototyping needs to be constant. The product is never 100%. There's always a new feature. And once you understand that particular segment, the market requires that, then being agile about it, being quick about it, showing, in a scrappy manner that this is something that can be done on the product. And once it starts seeing traction, then really building it. So I think that for me has been a very important learning. So just not being, sort of married to a particular product or an idea, but constantly being agile about it. And then I think the second thing is the team. So, something that Krasi said as well. So the team that is building the product or building this dream forward, I think that is super important to seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, because once we find the right people, then it's important to just keep them. And when we don't find the right people, then it's important to recognize it and part ways early as much as possible as well. So I think that team needs to constantly be fitting this product as well, and the vision as well. And then the last thing I think is the timing. So sometimes things happen which really change the traction of a company. So COVID, for example, was actually really great for ocean shipping and freight in general. So things like that really push digitization and innovation in the industry in a positive direction. So sometimes those you can't control, you can't create. Those things just happen. So that's also part of the learning, I think.
Yeah, and thank you. Thank you all. I think the last few years, as we all know, and we've heard that and seen the word unprecedented too many times, but it has been a real game changer in terms of how we look at things, whether it's technology. We've seen the boom now of AI. That's going to continue and accelerate. We've seen some real challenges with the mobility of people. We've seen the push for and an ever increasing push for decarbonisation and reduction in costs. So I think the world is going to speed up, slow down. And I take a few things from what you've all said, that actually to be successful, as you all are, it's about agility, it's about patience. And I think that patience piece is really important. I like the reference to, keep going. The resilience piece for me stands out in all of your journeys, that actually that you've got to be relentless, you've got to be resilient and tenacity. What also is really interesting, and it's great to have you back on screen together, albeit not physically together, is, as I said before, you're all on the same journey. You're at just different points on that journey, and it may not necessarily be the same road or the same route or whatever, but you're all on that sort of startup evolution journey, and it's fantastic to see the connection still. And for me, I guess that's one of the things to close out that I see such a powerful thing around the captain's table, is we just create a network of people who are like-minded in their thinking and like to share and help and try and solve some of the biggest challenges. So look, great to see you all again. Nick, Nidhi, Krasi, I hope to see you all in person in the not too distant future. But again, thank you for your time, and look forward to keeping tracks on what you're up to, and hopefully sharing a glass of wine or a coffee in the not too distant future.
Thanks, Chris, and good luck with the event. Great to see you, Krasi. Great to see you, Nidhi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Nick, Nidhi.